Welcome to the HR Champions podcast with me, Phil Scott, where I bring you industry leaders from the human resources community. In our podcast, we'll be discussing their careers to date, their passion for HR, and the challenges they have faced along the way. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Robert Hicks, Group HR Director at Reward Gateway and winner of HR Director of the Year at the HR Distinction Awards. Robert's team has been nominated for 6 awards over the last few years and won 4. So I'm going to be extremely interested to hear what Robert has got to say and what's been going on in the HR team at Reward Gateway. So Robert, I'm going to pass it over to you. Please give the listeners a brief introduction to who you are.
Hi, I'm Rob Hicks, Group HR Director at Reward Gateway, and I'm the lucky custodian of the people and the workspace teams. I'm an avid skier, a frustrated traveller in this year's. I'm a Tottenham Hotspur fan. I'm a music and politics nerd, and I'm lucky to be working for a company whose mission is to make the world a better place to work, which makes my job pretty nice, actually.
Thank you. So let's have a quick look at your career, and let's start at the beginning. How did you first get into HR?
I kind of fell into HR as as a career. So I left university in '95. I started temping through Office Angels, and they placed me at the British Council in a marketing team, which was a dreadful fit. I quickly realised that marketing wasn't kind of a career for me, but I kind of worked really hard, and the British Council in the olden days, rather than everything being online, would recruit 2 or 3 times a year, 20, 30 people into the admin roles. And I was asked to apply for any one of the positions. And I picked the HR position, which was going to be reporting into someone who I thought would be a really good boss, a chap called Adrian Clark Morgan. And I found the job more interesting than any the other ones I had, but it was only a year contract, so I decided that I'd pick the job and the boss rather than pick the security. And 24 years later, I've not looked back.
Brilliant. And what is it then that you like about working in human resources?
I think I like the variety. I don't think any hour's the same, let alone any day or week or month. I like the fact that we can have an impact. I like the fact that I can interface in with every part of the business. Everybody has an interest in human resources, be it that they've got some people in their team they need to get to perform better, be it they're looking to build the team, be it they want to do some learning. Everybody needs to help. And there's 2 things which I think I'm good at. One's organising, and one's getting stuff done. So HR is really about organising stuff and then getting stuff done. So I think it suits me pretty good.
Brilliant. And your career's seen some progression, some impressive progression. What's been your secret?
I don't think I've been. I don't think there is a secret. I'll tell you when I was looking back at this question, why have I had the career I've had. I think it's luck. I think I've worked for some great people. I've worked for some great businesses, and I've moved at some really lucky times. I think there's a lot of hard work. I've always put my hand up to do more. I don't think I've ever said no to any project or any extra responsibility. I've studied a lot because I realised that often you'll be competing against when you're going for jobs, people who've worked at really amazing companies. And actually, the one thing in HR is that we do like a shiny badge of a name on a CV when we're looking to hire into the team. And so I studied, I got my CIPD, I did a master's in HR, and then I did an MBA. And I think I've also sacrificed. So that sacrificed time to study, made sure that I sacrificed my time to give 100% to my career, and just really just keep on looking and learning and trying and just progressing, making sure that I'm that I take the right decision rather than kind of a short-term decision. I've always worked at places for long times and really gone in and understood business as well, which I think has kind of stood me in good stead.
And have there been any sort of standout achievements that you think have stood you in good stead?
Yeah, I think if I look back, the fact I've got a really strong pedigree of time and tenure at kind of different businesses, I think has been really effective. And I think the fact that I've progressed from working in the public sector to the private sector, working for PLCs, for startups, for mega corporates, and then for private equity-backed businesses. So I think kind of a standout for me is actually just a blend of companies I've worked for. So I'm not a banking professional or an insurance HR person. I'm an HR generalist who has got the ability to work at any kind of company in terms of size, in terms of sector. I've set up sales academies, so kind of taking kind of ambitious professionals who want to kind of get a career, and that's helped really accelerate kind of businesses. So exponentially, where I was at for 7 years, I set up 6 academies, and kind of people there are kind of now kind of real top professionals. I'm really proud of that. But I'm also proud of lots of non-job stuff that I do. So I do a lot of kind of service work in the HR world. So I'm a board member on the London HR Connection. So we do lots of networking events. I've done some service with the COPD London branch, and I've always done lots of mentoring for kind of with different groups and companies to help people in the HR world kind of be better. And just this week, someone I've been mentoring this year has moved jobs, and kind of I've had a profound impact on them. So I always look at kind of what I've done and kind of try not to think of always about the big things, but always just try and make small improvements to as many people as possible and into as many businesses as possible.
And you mentioned this sort of setting up academies, and that's one thing that I do notice of people that do progress is they don't just stick to human resources. They do get involved in wider operational initiatives. Would you say that's something that you've done? And what other sort of initiatives have you been involved in?
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think there is the kind of I think the term we would say is commercial skills. I think that was bandied about and has been for like the last 10 or 15 years. I think there was this battle where HR was saying we need a seat at the table, and the businesses were saying, well, we need to be more commercial. And for me, when I look back and where I've been really effective, it's where I've worked in partnership with the business leaders, and I've done the sales academies. I used to write the sales commission rules. I used to do the kind of things which would have a business impact. And what I really think is important is understanding where you work. So when I worked at a tech company, that's being able to talk about cloud computing and kind of how it all fits together, understanding how data networks work. When I worked for a property company, it's understanding what the Landlord and Tenant Act is and kind of what the lease rules are. Because in HR, whilst we do the hiring, performance management, the training, we do the onboarding, we kind of bring everything together, we've really got to understand how the business is operating to be truly effective. And that's where I think I've made a difference, is by understanding the business and then adjusting the HR processes and what we do and how we do it to be really effective, but really effective in the domain where I'm working, which I think could be the commercial side of it. But actually, I just think it's just understanding where I'm doing and just adjusting the HR world that I'm in to be most effective for the environment kind of there.
And let's sort of bring it on to Reward Gateway. I mean, the team, in my intro, I said, the team have been nominated for 6 awards, won 4. What sort of initiatives has the HR team launched recently then at Reward Gateway?
Yes, so we're always trying to push the boundaries of what we do. We are always kind of really just trying to stretch ourselves and be really effective, really visible, really open. So we've just launched our inclusive recruitment charter, which is a published set of statements as to how we're going to be doing recruitment, which is a three-part kind of relationship. So that's the recruitment and people team, that's the hiring managers, and it's also our diversity network. So we're now making some public statements around hiring. So managers have to commit to working in partnership with us and to meet our standards on what inclusive recruitment would be, which means that we then really have a public set of commitments, which means that everybody can hold us to account, and kind of being open and honest and transparent about what you're doing and why, I think, is really important. We're also just about to finish our first global management development program, which has been running in 4 countries and which we're kind of at different stages. And 2020 was where I really wanted to kind of finish kind of that off, which is a big achievement for me. And we've just launched 2 events for global all online meetings. So we used to do all hands meetings where we'd travel the world and kind of put on the same show with different or for different audiences. This year we're doing 2 events, as in we do one for Australia and then we do one for the rest of the world for the time zones. And we've done one where it's about our big company update, which we did in July. And we've just done a shorter version, which we're calling Leadership Team TV, where we did a 2-hour show of strategy and what we're doing and how we're doing it and next steps. Kind of really just trying to use the challenges of COVID to kind of really see what constraints that places on us and to see how we can kind of navigate through that. We've also just launched our diversity networks. So we've got 5 different diversity networks. We're looking for a new applicant tracking system. We're just about to launch kind of a program for an additional volunteering program, because you've got an established program, but we're just about to do 1,000 hours outreach program for every manager needs to commit 20 hours of kind of support for communities who find it harder to get jobs. So all of my teams have got big meaty targets and kind of real challenges to kind of really live our mission, which is making the world a better place to work. And our team mission is make Reward Gateway a better place to work. So we're really just looking to every day, are we living the mission for Reward Gateway, and is our team living out our mission about making Reward Gateway better too?
And I also mentioned that you personally won an award for HR Director of the Year last year. Why do you think you won it? What do you think the judges recognised in you?
I think 2 things. The first one is that I don't just tell the team what to do. I'm actively involved with kind of what they're doing, kind of guiding them, steering them, kind of giving them as much kind of help as what they want. So I'm very hands-on, and I take kind of personal responsibility for what kind of the team does. And secondly, I think it's the breadth and depth of what we're trying to do. So we're always looking to do things differently, kind of and we don't always get everything right, and we learn from those mistakes, and then we kind of move forward and we adjust. So I think it's the fact that we're doing a lot, the fact that I'm visible and kind of accountable for that, but also the fact we're trying things and kind of we realize that may not work, which I think kind of makes kind of me kind of effective in what I do, and the team effective, and kind of really I'm just a figurehead for the team. And whilst I won the award, I think it's just a reflection of the hard work for everybody kind of within the team has done.
Thanks, Robert. And sort of staying on you, and now that you're sort of pretty senior within HR, who do you take inspiration from? Who are 3 people who've been most influential to you?
So the 3 people who are most influential to me are the 3 bosses I had kind of at my first 3 jobs. So Adrian Clark Morgan at the British Council, John Miller when I was at Workspace, and Colette Keegan when I was at Exponentially. All 3 really, really talented individuals who managed me in different ways, but taught me a lot about how to behave as an individual, how to behave as a manager, and to how to really stretch myself and to be really effective. So they're people, all of whom I'm kind of still in touch with and kind of talk to on a regular basis. And in terms of who do I learn from now, I learn a lot from kind of my current leadership team, who kind of we're a kind of a diverse group, where kind of there's a lot of different skill sets, and I look around and I'm learning from them every day. But I also do kind of lots of talking across the HR kind of network. There's I had a great conversation, kind of an HR director called Tom yesterday, who he and I've been talking on and off for about 6 months, and we were talking about our goals for next year, and we're really aligned. But I also like to spend time with kind of more junior colleagues or different colleagues across the HR spectrum, and just finding out what they're doing, because I take inspiration from every conversation. Because if someone on the front line says that something's not working, that to me is kind of a call to arms to fix it. So every conversation to me is encouraging, and kind of really helps me drive kind of positive behaviours kind of across the rest of the business.
Good. And sort of switching it in a different direction, have you had any setbacks in your career? If so, how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I think when I was looking to leave the British Council, that jump from public to private sector was really hard. HR talks wonderfully about transferable skills, but I'm not quite sure that we fully apply it to everything we do when we're trying to move from one HR position to another. So kind of that was hard, and I took a leap of faith in myself and decided that as I was on 3 months' notice that I would resign and I would back myself to get another job, and I did. I think my skill set at the British Council was really well defined, because they're a really process orientated business, and that was a really good education. But kind of when you're looking to make a couple of early career moves and you can't because you're worried about being typecast, that kind of is nerve wracking. So that was a personal setback for me, which was kind of not a large setback, but it is kind of an element there. And then of course there's times when projects have kind of gone askew, or they've been cancelled, or what you've been wanting to do has not moved forwards. But I always say to my team that we don't need to worry about why it's gone wrong or the fact that we're not doing it. We just need to learn from the experience, and we need to kind of take all of the positives from that, and to really kind of learn from it, and apply the kind of those learnings kind of onto the next project. Because if we worry about kind of the past and failures, then I don't believe that kind of we'll be as positive and as impactful kind of going forward. So there's lots of stumbles and falls, but it's really about kind of taking the positives from that and just applying them going forward.
And if there's one sort of common myth or stigma about the human resources profession that you'd like to dispel, what would that be?
God, that's a really hard one. I was thinking about this, and I think HR as a profession is now more understood than ever before. I think before everyone thought it was soft and cuddly and was just doing lots of fun things, which kind of isn't the case. I think that probably the one thing is that we probably don't know as much as people think we do, in terms of any individual in HR kind of knows some stuff, but I kind of HR isn't all seeing and all knowing about everything which is going on in the business. And we do know about the people side, but we may not know kind of around everything. And I think perhaps the biggest myth is that it's very samey, whereas my job is so varied that I work on so many different projects. So it is really interesting.
And have you made any mistakes? And if so, what advice would you have to other people so they don't make the same mistakes?
I've made lots of mistakes. I'm probably a little bit too shy to kind of run you through a long list, and I'm not sure we've got the time. But what I would say is that mistakes happen, and I always say it's not the mistake which gets you; it's the cover up. So, kind of in all of the mistakes I've made, I've always said, "Yep, this is an error, owned up." But I always go with a solution to a problem, and I always ask my team when they come to me when they've made a mistake is to say, "Okay, a mistake's happened. What are we going to do to fix it, and what are the solutions for moving forward?" In human life, mistakes are going to happen in terms of when we're doing a job. Most of the time, people are doing it for the right reason, and things have just happened, and so it's how we respond. And the important thing for me is someone coming to me and sharing what's gone on and being able to take ownership of that, not looking to blame others, but also looking to present the solutions as to kind of what's occurring. Because to me, that's really important. We've got to really be looking at dusting ourselves off, moving forward, learning those lessons, and just being really effective at the next thing we do.
If there was one thing you could change about your work experience, what would that be?
Oh, this is an easy one. Kind of when I entered HR at the age of 23, I dreamed for years and years, and probably still do, about working overseas, kind of just in an HR job, working in a foreign country. To me, has always sounded really, really interesting, just because I think I, I've lived in London since 1992, and that's 28 years. So um, I th- I and I love living in London. It's my home, but there is something which always sounds really exciting about saying, "Oh yeah, I worked in Berlin, or I spent 2 years in Singapore or Hong Kong, or kind of a bit of time in New York or San Francisco, or kind of out in Australia." And I never did that. I did apply, um, and I think that, to me, that's kind of if I was to look back in 20 years and say, if I could, adding a 2-year stint where I was somewhere else in another country, I think that would be the insertion into my history on my CV, which I would go for.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think you get to a certain point in life, and it's not always possible. But yeah, a stint overseas would be quite exciting. And if you had any advice for others that were aspiring to get to where you are, what would that be?
Don't give up, because I think the number one thing is, there's so many amazing HR people. And there's not enough great HR jobs for the number of great HR people there are in in the HR community. So don't give up. You've got to network a lot, and you've got to really kind of be tenacious in terms of what you do. Make sure you study and stay relevant, and try to look across and just do more than what other people are doing. And that's the reason why I've got 3 degrees, is because I realized that my original degree wasn't from a red brick university, which kind of gets you through kind of a lot of doors, and I don't have a Goldman Sachs on my CV, which then opens even more doors. So to get you through the initial CV sifts and into the conversations where I think I perform really strongly, rather than what's on paper, you've really got to kind of demonstrate that you're doing more, and you're networking, and that's outside of HR as well. And then I think it goes back to something we discussed earlier, which is, don't just do HR. Just look to kind of get involved with business projects, because the more that you can demonstrate your value to a business, the more the business will value you. And so I actually think it's, what can you do internally to be even more effective? What can you do externally in terms of networking and just doing some service, and to build up your brand? And it's also making sure that if you're really serious about a big career in HR, and this is a 40-year project, you've got to be able to demonstrate that from an educational perspective or an experience perspective, that you've got what it takes. And if you don't have the experience, get the education. If you've got the education, get the experience. And it's really about balance, and to treat everything as a project, and to just keep moving forwards and to keep learning.
And if you were me interviewing you, what's one question that I should have asked you?
My favourite musical artist. I'm as I said at the start, I'm a music nerd. So if I'm feeling particularly cheeky and someone wants to kind of ask for a sales pitch to me, I'll ask them to guess my 3 favourite musical artists, or my favourite DJ. Um, Really to just test the salesperson's tenacity to see if they really want to interact. And so kind of music's a big piece for me. I'm not going to share my answers because kind of I want people to guess. But if any salespeople are listening to this and have received kind of one of my LinkedIn replies to that, and I do give good hints, but the one thing I found is that even when I say and give them a few hints, that the guesses are normally terrible. But often you get some good conversations. And one of the reasons I do it is because we hire great salespeople at Reward Gateway. I'm often seeing whether someone's got kind of the strengths and capabilities to maybe join us, because we sell to HR, and HR salespeople are selling to me. So I'm seeing it's a bit of a filter to see whether someone's kind of engaging and is willing to do that, and everyone always takes it in great in great spirit, and so long as there's good participation, I'll give someone a bit of my time to look at a demo or to give them some feedback.
Brilliant, like that. Okay, and if you weren't in HR, what other profession do you think you'd have looked at?
To be honest, I've got no idea. Kind of at the age of 47, I'll rewrite history and say that I've got a good ear for bands. I'm musically tone deaf, but I know what good music sounds like for a couple of different genres. So working at a record label, receiving lots of different tapes of bands, and I think I'd have been pretty good at kind of listening to early bands and saying, "Yep, I reckon that they would be good." So I think kind of working at a record label, kind of working kind of at some selection to see who we should sign and doing pieces there. Kind of other than that, I think I love cricket and I love football. So being a cricket scorer would have been great. Just kind of sitting there all day and watching kind of cricket matches, particularly on the test scene, would have been kind of really effective. But in terms of, I think my strengths as an individual are obviously on my ability to talk, as you can tell from this podcast. It's my ability to listen, my ability to kind of be encouraging. So some form of environment where it's my job to organize and be positive and encourage. So kind of anything within that, I think kind of I could have turned my hand to. Failing that, I spent 7 years at McDonald's, so I could I'll make a mean burger, so I could always kind of go back to that.
Brilliant. That brings us towards the end. About 25 minutes there has just absolutely flown by. If anyone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way of doing that?
So I'm on LinkedIn, and you can just type in my name, and I should come up. Or failing that, just type in Reward Gateway after, and you get me. And I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram, so you can find me at HR in London. And that's the same handle for both of those social medias. So do get in touch. I'm more than happy to kind of connect, kind of share any wisdom and offer any advice.
Brilliant, thank you. A massive thank you to Robert Hicks from Reward Gateway there. I hope everyone has enjoyed listening to this episode of the HR Champions podcast, and stay tuned for more episodes. Thanks, Robert.
Brilliant. Thanks.